Hey Ryan.
Hey, Justin.
Hey, I have this experience this week where I was talking to a para. She brought in a couple of special ed kids in my class, and during my art class, I do a quick little financial tips of the day.
Yeah.
And every time I do my quick financial tip of the day, I look over and I see this para kind of cringing a little bit. And I start talking to her about the financial tip for that day, and she's
Yeah.
like, "Every time you talk about your financial tips, Mr. Warren, it stresses me out." And I'm like, "Oh man, okay." That kind of made me do a little second guessing on some stuff here.
Yeah.
And
Like
so
you want to ask her why, which I don't know. It's
I
personal, maybe. I
I
don't.
do, and I don't know if like in the classroom is the right
Right.
position
You
place
don't
for
want to.
all that, right?
Like, what's causing your stress?
Right. And so it just made me think, and that's what I want to kind of talk about
Yeah.
today is how money can stress you out.
Mm-hmm.
And while doing some research on this, here's a couple of things that I thought about and that came to my attention was that caused people some stress. And one of them is, paying your rent or your mortgage if you don't have enough money for that, or a lack of stable income, paying for education, wanting a nicer lifestyle, or not having enough money to retire or for an emergency fund.
Yeah.
So my thought is like, what if we just jump into each of these categories and talk about it?
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's
All
talk
right.
about it. Stress, money stress.
Money stressors. The first one is paying for your rent and your mortgage. And during 2020,
Yeah.
housing prices just kind of skyrocketed and went bananas a little bit,
Gee.
right? You remember that
Oh,
time?
it's crazy. Yeah.
So there was an article that I saw here in the New York Times where it said 1 in 4 Americans are house poor. And when it comes to house poor, it's like how much money are you putting towards your house?
Right.
And from this article here, it says that 30% of Americans, or 1 in 4 Americans, excuse me, are giving 30% of their income to their house payment. And that's pretty high. I think if you can bring that back down to like 20%, 15%, it might be pretty doable.
Yeah. It would free up some money, so you're not so tight on your budget maybe every month.
Right,
Um, because when someone's house poor, they don't have enough money for other things that they normally would want or need
right,
potentially.
right.
So yeah,
And, unfortunately, the only thing that I could really come up with if your house poor is to downsize, maybe you have to go back to renting even, um, or increase your income.
true.
Maybe you have to get a side hustle or a second job and decrease your spending.
Yeah, those are all things you have to do,
Yeah,
or you can stay house poor and miss out on concerts or
right.
sporting events or go eating out with friends,
Yeah,
things that you want to have extra money for fun, every month.
right. So the next one is lack of stable income. I know we live in like the gig economy
True.
where we have Uber and Lyft and
And everyone seems to be delivering for Amazon, for
right,
example. My neighbor has a job doing that. He
right.
does like a 3 hour shift. It's really pretty cool. He
Nice.
signs up whenever he wants, so there's flexibility.
Okay.
If he wants to do a 3 hour shift from like 5 to 8 in the morning, he can. So he's got a lot of flexibility in that job. But to your point, the
Five
gig
to eight's a
economy,
little early.
he's a morning person apparently because I hear a car out there when I'm still trying to sleep, and it's my neighbor taking off to deliver some
There you
packages.
go. Yeah. I think if you're trying to live off of that gig economy stuff, your income will fluctuate,
For
right?
sure.
Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. And once again, the cold hard truth on that one is you might have to find an actual job that has that stability.
Or get a second job.
True.
So if you're doing the gig economy like my neighbor is and
Mm-hmm.
other people are, and his income will fluctuate based on he gets paid differently on every delivery. So
Mm.
sometimes he might be averaging $18 an hour, sometimes it's $22 an hour. It depends on some variables.
Right.
But maybe at night he works at a restaurant for 10, 20 hours as a cook or a chef,
Right.
a waiter or something like that.
Yeah.
Second job.
So he's got his little morning
little
thing
more.
and then he's got something else.
Right.
Okay. Fair enough. And I know a lot of teachers have little side hustles that they do in the summertime or
Especially newer teachers.
yep.
Unfortunately, more and more teachers are coming out of college with student debt, and
Right.
it's a high amount. And like you talked about earlier, buying a house is what a lot of people have as a goal. So these teachers want to pay down that debt quickly by
Right.
getting a second job or working over the summer, and then save up to buy a home someday, maybe.
Mhm.
So that's a good point.
Yeah. So the next one kind of goes with that. What we were just talking about here is how do we pay off that debt? If debt is one of your stressors, you're like, I have so much debt.
Right.
How am I ever going to get over this? Right. Um, one of the things that I think is create a spending plan,
True.
right? Know where your money is going and how you're using it, and try to increase what you pay on your debts.
True. Yeah. Cut out things from your spending plan, your
Mhm.
budget. Maybe you have to get a second job for a while.
Right.
Maybe say no to a handful of concerts or eating out.
Mhm.
You know, be very like you come up with a plan. Be very intentional,
Yeah.
and you can get out of that debt and get ahead,
Right.
so you have less stress.
Now, the other piece of that, paying for education. So this is for like your niece who's going to be graduating here soon, or
Right.
my student teacher that I had last semester that's coming out. What about you as a parent, right? What are some things that you can do, and maybe you're not doing anything to help pay for your kids' college?
Yeah, that can be a stress too for parents because some parents want to help some or a lot or pay
Mhm.
for it all. Um, and then if they do, how do you go about saving for that money? Where do you invest it? Things like that. Um, I would say every parent, this is a family, big time personal decision between the family, no matter what your income is or how much you have. Some people are very philosophical. They want their kids to pay most or all of it, even though they could afford it.
Mhm.
Some parents might be like, we're paying for it all. Yeah.
I want that parent.
Yeah. And we're going to get you a car.
Oh,
So you don't,
dang.
we're going to take care of you. So, you get all sorts of
Yeah.
people, coming up with different plans. But again, being intentional,
Right.
um, and creating a plan if you want to help your kids pay for some of their college or all of it. You just got
Yeah.
to come up with a plan.
My parents didn't pay for any of my college. They wouldn't co-sign or anything. So I had to come up with my plan to, if this is something I wanted to do, how is it going to work in my life?
Right. And back in the olden days,
Back
when
in
we were
my
in
day.
college, back in the early 90s for me, you could actually work full time if you could. I mean, you can work many hours, you shouldn't say full time, and
Mhm.
almost take care of that whole year of college. I don't know if you can do that today at a state college, state university, work full time and take care of it all. So,
I don't know.
it,
I think it depends on where you're going to school and how things are going, but that's a good thing to look into.
right, like CU, CSU, let's just use an example. And it may be $30,000. I'm making this up. I didn't research it. I don't know if a kid can make $30,000 in a year
Mhm.
while going to school to pay for that whole year.
Yeah.
But if you can pay for 15 to 20 and at least get less student loans, if you're still getting student loans, that'll help out.
True.
So,
Cool. Extra pieces there. All right. Here's another one that might cause some people some stress is, what if I want the nice things in life?
then go buy them.
Then go buy. Oh, is that
Yeah,
all it is?
or
Put it on
just
the
use
credit
your
card?
credit card. Yeah, your magic card.
That's
call it
right.
magic.
That's right.
It works wonders.
I
Yeah,
think that's the piece. We've done a video about this before where we talked about keeping up with the Joneses. And I think that how much is enough for you? Right? And I think being grateful for what you have is also another key piece to this.
no, you're right. I can think of an example of someone I really wanted to buy a brand new certain type of car, and they were stressed about it, and they finally did it. But I feel like they overextended their budget to do it.
Mm.
I don't know all the details, but they wanted a little bit more than maybe they should have, just because it caused stress. We always want more, but then we have to reflect on why. I think.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the other part is if you want all of that, then you might have to get a new job.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
You need to increase your income.
Yeah. If I wanted to take more vacations and do more things when I was in education, I should have become a principal.
Yeah.
Which would have paid me a lot more money.
No, thank you.
And that's what I said too. No thanks. I was happy in the classroom.
Right. So, and then the other one is that might cause some people to have some stress is they don't have enough money. I know teachers that I've talked to from time to time, they always say like, oh, I don't have any money for that. I don't have enough money for that. And that can come back into your emergency fund, and maybe even your retirement. Right?
Right.
I don't have enough money to retire yet. So,
Right. Might have to extend it out.
right. And I think maybe we have to do a little backwards planning when it comes to your retirement. If you want to have X amount of money coming in per month, how much do you need in your retirement fund to support that number that you have?
And how are you going to get there?
Yep.
Exactly. A plan. Your goal is this, work backwards.
Right.
And you can get there.
As teachers, we know backwards planning,
Yeah.
right?
I've heard of that for sure.
I think this last one I'm throwing in as a bonus is money trauma. I think it's one of those things that maybe growing up you were homeless, and so now you have a different relationship with money. And I think that recognizing where these feelings are coming from, and recognizing how you can work with these feelings, or how these feelings influence your decision, can be helpful dealing with this stress.
No, I agree. That's when you got to really reflect on, why do I feel this way with money? Why am I behaving this way with money?
Right.
And it could be some things you experienced when you were younger.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's just wrap some stuff up here. We do recognize, both Ryan and I, we both do recognize that sometimes money can stress people out. And we hope that some of these tips, some of these things that you can reflect on and internalize, we hope that they help you and helps you to get back on track, or get on track for your goals in your life. I'm going to include a couple of sources in the links in the description down below that talk a little bit more about money trauma.
Good.
Or that offer a little bit deeper dive into some of these things that we covered today.
Excellent. Sounds good.
Any last thoughts there?
No, I think just believe there's a path out of your stress. If you are dealing with money stress for any of these reasons we talked about, or others that could exist too, there is a path to get out of that stress. Keep looking for it. Keep reflecting. Keep reading. You'll get there.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.